The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And AJ Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, Mr. Co-host AJ Applegarth. What is up, man?
The sky, clouds, other things in the sky.
Of course.
Birds.
And the Sixers losing. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's not up. That would be down. Like the frown on my face.
Oh, man.
For being a Philly fan.
So
yet again.
Gotta ask you, because I saw a lot of noise on Twitter and other Philly fans I know. How much hatred do you have toward Ben Simmons at this point? Because I feel like the hate is just like it's at another level.
Yeah, it is. I don't have a lot of like for him, so he would not be on my little paper thing with the "Do you like me?"
You know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, then pick a color, and
because I don't.
Okay,
and that would be a very depressing unfolded piece of paper for him. But that's about all he's worth at this point, is an unfolded piece of paper.
I mean, like, for
not,
real,
not even a balled up one, because most people take a balled up piece of paper and throw it in a trash can and actually make it more times than he could make.
I was going to say,
throw.
Yeah, unlike Ben Simmons, yeah. Well, I mean, realistically, though, like, what do they do with this guy?
I mean, there's not much you can do with him right now. You kind of have to give him another year, or at least into next year. Try to get him right and bring value back to him, because he has no value right now.
No.
What was the thing I said earlier about a hot garbage in a dumpster fire in Antarctica or something? That's kind of his trade value right now, and he's got a massive contract.
Yeah.
That does not help things. He is way too coddled for his own good, and that started with the process of Brett Brown and his nonsense. So I don't know. I mean, I nobody really wants to play with him. It seems like, so it'll be interesting, but they credit to Atlanta, man. Trae Young
balling, dude.
Trae Young is a monster. I would much rather have him on our squad than Ben Simmons. But they wanted it more, and Ben didn't really do much to help his cause. So,
yeah, it's unfortunate. I've seen a lot of things go down where you're talking about he's being coddled and things like that. He's only around like people like yes men, basically. So it's unfortunate. Mm-hmm. Who knows how much of that is really true? But it's unfortunate if it is.
I think this guy needs to get better. His shooting coach or some nonsense. It's gosh. That's literally his family is all involved. So.
All right. Well, we've got a great show tonight. We're going to be doing our AFC North preview. We've got a great guest. We'll get to her later. But let's do our beer of the week.
Beer.
All right, AJ, what you got?
I myself am drinking a fresh squeezed IPA from Deschutes Brewery in Bend, Oregon. I feel like Bend, Oregon is kind of the home of craft beer. So okay. This one is one of my favorites. And yeah, that's all I got. Well, I have another one in there, but whatever. That's all I got for this one.
All right. So I'm going with a little theme this week. As you're seeing, I'm wearing a Reese's shirt tonight. Just came back from vacation, Hershey Park in Hershey, PA. So I'm drinking a Trogs, which is in Hershey, PA. Perpetual Haze. It's a hazy IPA. So this is a hazy take on their Perpetual IPA, which I like a lot. I saw this in their store and was like, yeah, I'll bring it home. So I haven't tried it yet. Let's see what I got.
I'm gonna go with a beer in a can for $500.
I'm gonna go with a hazy IPA in a can. Yeah, no.
What
No,
is
I like
a hazy IPA in a can?
Yes. No, it's good. I actually think I prefer the Perpetual just slightly, but this is pretty good. I'd probably get about a 4 on Untapped. I think I give Perpetual like a 4.25, so it's just a tick under that. This is pretty solid. So good job on their part. All right. Before we get started, just want to remind everybody, hit those like buttons, those subscribe buttons. Rate us, give us those reviews on wherever you're following and watching and listening to us. So we appreciate the support. And without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Sam Holt, host of the Fantasy Debate Podcast and One-on-One with Sam. How's it going tonight?
Great. I'm so excited to get to talk AFC North with you guys. It's super awesome to get to meet you. Obviously, in the Twitter sphere, you kind of meet digitally, but now it's actually face-to-face.
Yes,
hang out with you guys. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. We know you are a huge Steelers fan, so as soon as I noticed that, I was like, yeah, this year we're getting her on this show. So I immediately reached out to you, and glad you could come and join us tonight and talk some AFC North. And let's just jump right into it. So we like to start off here each show of these with just a general football question, not necessarily fantasy football, but just general football. And this year for the AFC North is, we all know the Steelers started off super hot last year, undefeated for, what was it, 11, 12 games, something like that. It was a lot. And everybody was like, ooh, they're going to get KC a run for their money. And, they sort of fizzled. It just went downhill pretty quick. And, still won the division. But honestly, though, do you see them repeating this year, or do you see somebody like, the Browns, who really took a big step forward last year, taking the crown, or the Ravens, who we know is still going to be good this year, taking it? I don't think anybody's really taken Cincy seriously as like a division winner, but who knows? Weirder things have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what I love about my division, it's also, going to cause me a lot of restless nights. I'm very aware of it already, but there is a lot of good talent across this entire division, and I think that it's up for grabs for whoever's going to fight the hardest throughout the entire season. Obviously, I would love it if my Steelers went undefeated and we took the Super Bowl this year, but I'm also going to be very realistic in that there's going to be some times when we struggle. And hey, honestly, I was hoping we would get a loss last year because we needed a break. We were absolutely just kicking the tires and just running people into the ground, trying to keep up with this undefeated record. And you kind of have this hanging on your, just over you in football because it's such a difficult thing to do. I would have rather us lost a couple games and then have a bit more longevity over the season. So going into this season, I'm obviously excited about my Steelers. We've got our amazing receiving core. We just got, in my opinion, the best running back in the draft, Najee Harris. Cannot wait to see this guy play. Cannot wait to get our running game back to where we needed it to be. But also excited to see Joe Burrow healthy and see what he can do with the Bengals and this new offensive scheme, because they only just got to scratch the surface of it last year. So I'm excited to see that develop. I'm not that looking forward to the Browns and seeing what they can do because they had a really good finish to the end of their season last year. But I feel like they'll be the Browns and be a slow start as they normally are. And then with the Ravens, I'm hoping that we can get a bit of a bounce back from Lamar Jackson. And I don't know that he's going to be able to find another leading receiver to be that guy we've all wanted. But at the very least, we're going to get amazing rushing yards out of their entire running offense.
Yeah, I agree. AJ, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you hit everything on the head that I was thinking about there. Burrow has his boy and Jamar Chase coming up. That's going to be a very interesting transition to see what they've done in college on an NFL field now. And as a Burrow owner in Dynasty, I am very happy to see him hopefully healthy and playing at his peak again, because he was pretty scary last year for a little while there as far as how good he was playing. Part of that might have been a factor of the run game sucking, but that's cool. I like quarterback fantasy points. So
who doesn't? That's why we want Joe Burrow in different dynasty leagues and super flex formats, getting him and having that amazing floor of just airing out the ball. I hope that continues. I don't know how high I am on Joe Mixon as a result of that this year.
Yeah, I've been out on Joe Mixon for a little bit. Unfortunately, I bought in a couple of years ago, and it's just been injury plague season after injury plague season, and I'm just kind of like, you know what? You got to prove it to me again before I'm buying in at the price tag. Still, it's cheaper than it's ever been, but it's still up there around guys that I think I'd rather have. But yeah, no, everything you said here is spot on. Like the biggest thing that comes out that calls out to me with this division is it's very competitive, and you said that. And so like it's gonna be tough. My wife's a huge Ravens fan, and so like, you know, and we've got Steelers friends, and we've got Browns fans and things like that. So it's a lot of trash talk. It's a fun division to be in because they're all good. So let's jump in here we go position by position. We start off with running through the ADP, and then we kind of jump through some questions about that position, you know, by team. This is, as you said, a very stacked division. So some divisions we don't have as many questions. This one we've got a couple extra compared to others. So, you know, stay tuned, guys. It'll be a fun one. So starting with quarterbacks, we've got ADP of Lamar Jackson at QB4, Joe Burrow QB13, Baker Mayfield 18, and Ben Roethlisberger at 22. Start right there off the top here, and we got Lamar Jackson. I mean, you mentioned it. You know, he had a little bit of a down 2020. Can we expect a bit of a bounce back? I feel like he had a pretty decent like last third of the season. He finally figured out like, yeah, I'm just gonna run a lot more, and he did, and it worked. And so for fantasy, it worked. But can he keep that going in 2021?
I think he can. I think that they were trying a couple different things last year, and there were a lot of missed connections. Like if I had to categorize what happened to him, missed connections with his receivers is probably at the top of the list. And I think that getting back to the running game, what he's amazing at, what we love him for, is that rushing floor, and I can see him getting back to that. They're a running team. It's kind of like the Ravens were trying to make their passing game more than it needed to be. Like, you guys are good at running. Just keep running. We're good with that. Everyone's good with it. You know, stop trying to make passing happen. It's like in Mean Girls trying to make fetch happen. It's kind of how I felt the Ravens were in terms of their receivers and trying to make a single receiver happen. It's like, no, you don't need to. Mark Andrews can be the guy. It's okay. Keep him being the guy and just keep running the ball. The rest of us are happy with it. So hopefully they get back to that this season.
It would be nice if they could actually fetch the ball and, you know, have it reeled in and get some yards and some fantasy points. Not so much, though. All right. So, Joe, you got anything to add for Lamar?
No, I mean, I think, you know, he's got to learn, like, he needs to tuck and run a lot more, you know, and the Ravens do too. So I agree with you, Sam.
Yeah. All right. So next quarterback here, we're going to those Dirty Dogs, Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield. You know, he
faces.
Sorry, I can't.
No, it's okay.
This is why I don't play poker, because it's just my face changes every time something happens. I have a cartoon face as well, so it's not like a subtle like, oh, she might have a thought. It's like, oh, Sam hates that. Like, yes. I'm not subtle, which is terrible. That
is a 2-7 bluff right there.
That's what happens when we bring fans on of a certain team on the division to talk about it. We're gonna get faces. It's awesome. That's why I do it.
Great. That's why we like doing it. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. Do your thing.
Yes, we don't judge on the expressions at all, because we have our own for our teams as well. So Baker Mayfield, you know, he had a pretty strong second half last year, and he ended up as QB 13 throughout that stretch. But I mean, do we think he's gonna stay on that upward trend and kind of jump into the QB1 territory, or is he less likely to be, you know, even close to borderline candidate and just be far off in QB2 dumpster land?
I don't see him being in dumpster land this season. And this is me again. I'm trying to be unbiased. I'm trying to look at this with the fantasy goggles on for everyone else that's going to look to draft him and his offensive players. there's a lot of talent. And what we saw last year, obviously, with Odell out, and I still don't think Odell's going to be a guy. He's not anywhere on my boards in any league that I'm going to take just because I want to be proven with him before I'm taking him. But on Mayfield specifically, he's got so much talent with his running backs that he can still pass to each of them. He's got an amazing group of receivers. If he doesn't continue what he started at the end of last year, that's completely on him, and that is going to tell a lot to the franchise and whether or not they need to keep him or look towards the future for a different quarterback. I think he's going to continue to excel. I think it's not going to be at a skyrocketing pace that you're going to see with someone like Joe Burrow, but I think it's going to be slow and steady and just going to be very consistent. So if anything, for a QB2 in a Superflex league, I like him at that value that you're going to get him at. And he's going to give you a high floor week to week. So I think that's going to be a positive. Now, opposite, I hope that he just completely crashes them for a personal level. But for fantasy purposes, I think he will be fine.
Yes. For the first part of fantasy, just that fan part, crash and burn.
Yeah, no, I liked Baker down the stretch last season. I actually picked him up in a couple leagues. It is interesting the OBJ and Baker kind of dynamic there, and the fact that he kind of played better without him. Like, let's be honest, he really did. Like, he didn't have to force OBJ the ball. Yeah. And I think that makes a big difference. He was just able to go out and gunsling and do his thing. And it's weird to say, like, you almost wish OBJ wasn't on this team, because he is a talented athlete. Whether or not that translates to a talented receiver at this point, I'm not really sure. I'm with you on that. But yeah, Baker's one of those guys that I think he's going to sit in that kind of streamer quarterback territory. He should, a lot of people in a lot of leagues are picking up a second quarterback in drafts now to be able to stream week to week with whoever they got. Because unless you get one of those top 4, you're not just plugging them in every week for the most part. So you do that, so you don't have to go fight the waiver wire with everybody else. You get 2 guys that are decent, and Baker can be one of those guys. So I'm right there with you on that. So we're over to your team here. We're talking Big Ben. He was huge in the beginning of last year. They were just slinging the ball all around. Obviously, things kind of nosedived at the end here. I mean, his ADP is 22. It's just kind of like, oh boy, like, what do we do with this guy at this point? Like, is he even worth buying at 22, or is he just kind of like, just let him sit there and maybe pick him up off the waiver wire if he starts off hot?
I think that it's the latter. I mean, to be honest, with the rushing floor that you get from so many other quarterbacks in this league, it just pushes him further and further down the list. And he will have a good season of up between 3,000, 4,000 yards. I'm hoping for a 4,000 yard season, but being realistic here, it's probably going to be around the 3,500, 3,600 yard range at the low end. And at the high end, we can hit the 4s. And I'm hoping that it goes into the 4s just with the addition of Najee Harris, because he is that kind of back that you can use in the passing game and a lot of down and outs and just in a lot of different types of schemes. So I'm hoping that helps nudge the numbers up, which we desperately need. But in terms of where you're drafting him, I think he is where he is, and time will tell until he moves up further. I'm not going to allow hype to push him up the board. And I think that just means that if you're waiting on quarterback in certain leagues, you're going to get value later, because he's going to be very consistent week to week in that floor of yards for you. And that's just because we have an amazing receiving core. And that's not me being biased. We have an insane receiving core of guys, and I love the potential that they have to offer in that term. So each receiver is going to have, just shy of 1,000 yards receiving, minimum.
He's a huge best ball guy. I feel like he's gonna have some monster weeks. Like, if you didn't get a couple guys, if you didn't get like a top notch guy and you want to play that middle to late tier quarterback game in best ball, Big Ben's a guy that I feel like you can go grab in best ball, and you're gonna do pretty well. I feel like he's gonna have some monster weeks because his receiving core, as you said, is phenomenal. Yeah, one backup question here is, The news today, as I got back from vacation, I'm opening up the news and going, oh, the Steelers cut their guard, David DeCastro. And they've just signed guard Trey Turner, Rai Turner. I'm guessing that's how
Ray
you
Turner.
pronounce it. I mean, how does this affect Big Ben, who we all know is like the most slow-footed quarterback, maybe tied for Tom Brady at this point?
His legs are made of lead. We can say
Yeah.
that. It's okay. He stands there solid. I mean, he can play
He's
with
a big
broken
guy,
foot
so
because he's not going to go anywhere. That's
Yeah.
one thing I love. He's durable, but he's also, he's like Stonehenge, just standing there slinging balls, but he's not going to run anywhere.
yeah.
It sucks. I'm not going to say it doesn't suck. I love DeCastro, and I'm so upset because he's one of those players that he's a full team guy. He's a locker room guy. He's there to defend his players. And there's so many plays you can look at up on YouTube of him getting into it with Burfict and other division rivals. He is the guy that is going to stand and defend his quarterback. And I love him for it. So it's going to hurt us. But also, I have to be confident in what the team's doing, the moves they're making. Signing Turner is a good move, but offensive line is something that we need to have depth at. So I wish we had just paid him a little bit more and kept him.
I don't even think it was like it sounded like it was there was an ankle issue with him.
Oh,
and that's why so it was like an injury concern, and they basically cut him.
He'll be fine later.
In like a week he's gonna get signed. They're like, oh yeah, no, he's good.
He's gonna heal. Like if you're not gonna get him week 1, fine. I'd rather have him if I don't get him till week 6, I'm still okay with that because he is just that veteran presence that you really need on the field. So I would rather have someone that, okay, yeah, fine, be injured and we'll just sign someone else from the practice squad up. In the meantime, we will make do because we're going to be getting this amazing veteran later when he's fully healthy. I'd rather wait for that.
Yeah, O-line's one of those things the Steelers need. So cutting a guy like him is bad.
The big point with that, too, is, like you said, he's a locker room presence. Last time I checked, they still let injured guys in the locker room to talk to their teammates.
At the very least.
I mean, hello, just have him there for the sheer fact of the presence and, the knowledge that he can bring to this team. And it's still a young backfield in general. So, I think having a cut like this is not the best way to go for a younger running squad. I'm even for a great running back squad. It's not. Offensive line they make or break your team. So definitely interesting news to see. So
interesting, heartbreaking.
Yeah,
I'll probably cry myself to sleep tonight, but that's okay.
I mean, if Philly goes out and gets him, I think I'd be okay with it because we need offensive line help. Like
he'll be signed before Monday.
Everything.
Like someone's gonna pick him up. He is too fantastic to remain unsigned.
Yeah. All right. So the last gunslinger we got here is Mr. Joe Burrow. We already kind of touched on it a little bit with his injuries. So he had ACL and MCL surgery back in December. But what is your overall view of him for this season?
Overall, I'm just ready to see what he's got in the tank. I mean, it sucks when anyone gets injured, but when someone is this young and this determined and has so much to prove, and he knows that he is the franchise for the Bengals right now, and the Bengals have been needing someone like him for years. So in order for him to just shake it off and get into the season, I'm very excited for the potential that he's going to bring to the table. I think he could have a 4,000-yard season easy. Without even blinking, he could easily have it. They're going to be slinging the ball constantly because the defense isn't even there to help with clock management either. So it's going to be a lot of high-scoring games. It's going to be a lot of airing out the ball. And he's going to love to throw the ball to his bestie, Jamar Chase, and having that connection is going to be huge for him. He had great connection with Tyler Boyd last season as well. So he's got a lot of options. So he's going to continue to air it out. I'm excited for this high volume that he's going to have. I just hope he can tuck the ball and slide without putting his head at risk.
Yeah, that would not be good to go from ACL, MCL to concussion protocol because you cannot figure out how to handle a loaf of bread known as a football.
He just has to learn to slide. All these young quarterbacks have to do. They got to learn how to slide and protect the ball. If he can do that, he'll be just fine. And when he's running, get out of bounds. You don't need to save the team every play and run inbounds. Just get out. run and get out.
Learn
Even if
from
it's a
RG3.
1 yard
Stop.
gain, it is a gain.
Exactly.
Yes.
Even if it's a 1 yard loss, I would still take that over an injury.
You getting
100%.
killed. Yeah. No, I'm excited to see Burrow. I really hope he's healthy. It is tough to, I think it's tough to know what we can really expect from him, health wise coming into the season until we see him like play a game. And so we'll know a lot more that first preseason game, those first scrimmages and things like that. Like when we get those videos of him really running around, that's a tough injury to come back from no matter how young you are. But, Burrow's determined. I think he's good. And if he is healthy, he's going to be, I don't know if it's quite a steal at QB 13, probably not. But, I think people are buying him, that hoping he's healthy. So that's pretty much what it's coming down to. But let's jump into some running backs here. And there's a lot in this division as well. So start off here, top of the ADP, we got Nick Chubb at RB8. Mixon at 12. And these are half PPR, by the way. We pull these from Fantasy Pros. They do their consensus ADP across multiple sites here. So Mixon at 12. Rookie Najee Harris at 14. J.K. Dobbins at 16. We got Kareem Hunt at 23. Gus Edwards at 40. And then we'll stop with Benny Snell at 61. After that, it's kind of whatever. So start here with the Ravens because they're pretty interesting here. They got the J.K. Dobbins is way up there at 16, right? We got RB2 territory here. Going third round in most drafts. He's the guy who everybody expects to be the guy in this run first offense, right? Gus Edwards, however, got a $5 million contract, and he was pretty good last year. I mean, you get $5 million as a backup. I mean, how much of a backup really are you? And so, I kind of wonder, what are we really expecting here in this backfield this season? And are we overbuying Dobbins?
I don't think we're overbuying Dobbins because don't forget, Mark Ingram's not there anymore. So, if anything, it's just insurance of by the way, you are going to keep running the ball. This is not just a single guy's job. And that's what the Ravens have been. It's a mix of running backs back there that are carrying the torch, as one would say. But with Ingram out, I think this is just them saying to him, to Gus Edwards, you know what? We obviously lost veteran presence. Mark Ingram, we're not forgetting about you. You're here. You're the next man up. And to me, that doesn't mean he's going to out carry Dobbins by any means. I think that's just insurance of hey, we still appreciate you. Here's a little bit just to keep you happy because we're not forgetting you. We need you in this scheme. And that to me is just as a reminder that he's someone you can get later that's probably going to be great in best ball depending on the game.
Yes. I agree with that.
He is definitely a target for best ball for me in those later rounds, especially if you're looking at a zero running back in any draft, really. He's someone that you can grab late and plug in, and you're going to get some sort of points, especially without Ingram there. I think Dobbins, I think there's a little bit of high hype on him right now. It remains to be seen what he actually does with it, if he takes it and literally runs with it, or if it's just going to be a lot more of the same that we see. And this is a run first offense regardless. So there's enough for it to go around, I think.
Absolutely. Plenty to be fed.
Yeah, especially if the receivers aren't necessarily going to continue to step up and help out. So next question we got here, going back to Mr. Chubb and Kareem Hunt in Cleveland. Does Kareem Hunt's role take Nick Chubb out of RB1 consideration for you?
I don't think so. Just similar to the Ravens, obviously, the Browns do a lot with their running game consistently. And what's great about Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt together is that when Nick Chubb needs that rest for a moment, they do have Kareem Hunt, and he can just be a bit more of a decoy there and help open up the field for Kareem Hunt. So I think that they definitely help each other. I think it's more symbiotic than one beating the other out. Now, if you're playing against someone and you have Kareem Hunt and then someone else you're playing against has Nick Chubb, you're just going to be vulturing touchdowns back and forth. So that's your own personal hell that you have to deal with. However, I think overall, when you look at the full season, I don't think that Kareem Hunt eats enough into Nick Chubb's workload to take him out of consideration at that RB1 position. He's still going to finish top 10, maybe top 5, depending on how injuries go for this season. He's going to finish high.
Yeah, I definitely like Chubb's upside, even with Hunt there. And when Chubb missed time last year, he didn't really get that much more out of Hunt, which surprised me and also hurt me in Scott Fish. It's just
all about you, AJ.
All right, I wasted.
The way you said that was like I could feel the personal anguish.
Right? Yeah, it's there. It's
But
there.
why?
It's there's no hiding it anymore. It haunts me. But yeah, I still like Hunt's upside as a secondary back, and he's going to be involved in the pass game. So is Chubb. So I think with OBJ back, maybe that hurts Chubb a little more. But we'll
Chubb's
see.
not a pass game guy. I'm not worried about that. But
No, I mean he's not. But he did well, in the receiving game last year without OBJ.
He did a little bit better. I will say that. I mean, the thing that I'm looking at with Chubb and that I like is that, I mean, he had about 20-something points less last year in total fantasy points compared to 2019. And that's standard. But, I mean, even in PPR, it wasn't much less because obviously he doesn't catch a lot of passes. And he missed 4 games. So,
yeah.
His offense
he had 12 rushing touchdowns, where the year before he had 8. And the year
8.
before that
I mean,
he had 8.
and his yards per carry was up. Everything was going positive for him in that direction. So, yeah, does he score 12 again in 12 games? Maybe not. Probably not. That's tough to do. If he gets up to 10, the yards per carry going up, that offense going in the right direction, I think Chubb can easily be a top 10 guy overall in fantasy this year, even with Kareem Hunt there. As you mentioned, AJ, his when Chubb was out, Hunt wasn't really as great as everybody thought he was going to be. Everybody was like, "Oh, RB1, hammer it down, hammer it down, hammer it down." And I was one of them, raised my hand, and I was dead wrong. So, it is what it is. I think Hunt at this point is a complementary piece to Chubb, a very, very good complementary piece to Chubb.
Yeah.
But that's what he is at this point.
Absolutely.
So, moving over here to the Pittsburgh Steelers and your rookie Najee Harris.
I cried. I'm not gonna
lie. When they actually got him, I was like, perfect fit. I mean, God,
Yes.
That's all I wanted.
Thank
for
you,
him.
somebody who knows how to draft.
I know, right? And somebody didn't jump ahead of the Steelers to get him, because that's the team he needed to go to, in my opinion.
I was crossing my fingers the entire. I was doing a live show watching the draft picks come in, and the guys I was recording with, I was like, guys, you're gonna have to talk for the next 5 minutes because I just can't right now. I had to mute my mic. I'm just sitting there, just all kinds of emotions, and then they made the pick, and I was just like, all kinds of excitement, all just the emotions of like the running game is back. I had ordered a pizza, and like literally the guy delivering the pizza arrived like 2 minutes later, and I was like, "We got Najee Harris," and he's like, "Okay,
Who?
cool."
What?
Like
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like,
know who you are.
1275.
Okay,
My name's
can I
Steve.
leave now? Yeah,
You're like, here's a $20 tip. I'm so happy.
he's just like,
Yeah, no, I invited you on for our draft show, and unfortunately you had something to do. But that's awesome. I would have loved to see that reaction, but it's all good. So Najee Harris, like, what is his legit ceiling this year? Like, we've seen rookies, CEH last year go like top 8 once the starter got hurt. There is no other starter. Najee Harris is the guy this year. Why isn't he going in the top 10 like Clyde Edwards-Helaire was last year? Like, should his ceiling be that high, or are we, what are we thinking here with him?
I'm thinking that what is hindering Najee Harris being the hype right now, like this time of year versus last year with CEH, is, well, last year we were all trapped at home and we had nothing better to do than begin hype very, very early and often. We were very excited about the hype. And I think this year it's a little bit more hesitant to have that level of hype just because we can get outside and do other things. So for me, I think that Najee Harris will have the hype closer to the beginning of the season than he will right now, because when people realize just how desperate we were in need of fulfilling this running role, to have this true back and all the talent that this man possesses at our fingertips, I'm sure that as soon as August comes around, it's just going to be billboards for Najee Harris everywhere, all over.
I have seen him in early mocks like a couple months ago go like late second, early third. I've already heard just recently in the last week him go early second. So it's happening already.
It's happening.
It's already
slower.
People want the new pretty shiny toy.
Oh, I want it. I want him so bad. Oh my gosh, I want him so bad. He really
is a monster. He's so good.
Easily. He can easily hit 1,000 rushing yards this season because it is his job, and that is very different than other backs coming into the league. I think when CEH started, obviously we didn't know there were going to be holdouts that there were in the running game in Kansas City, so that was also a little bit and injuries as well. But this is his job, 110%. He is just that dynamic playmaker that they're going to be going to early and often and getting those rushing yards up. So he's going to have a floor of at least 1,000 yards this year, rushing easy. And then I'm pretty sure that in the passing game, he's going to have, I would say, I don't want to be hot takey and say like 1,000 yards too, but he can have easily 800 yards because they just have to keep slinging it everywhere. And if Deontay Johnson keeps dropping the ball, I would be happy to see Najee Harris pick up those targets.
Yeah, receivers dropping passes. What was that all about?
I was going to wait until we got to the receivers to mention their cases of the dropsies, but hey, the door's open, so yeah. I think
give the ball to someone who's not going to drop it.
But and the other nice thing about it too, you already mentioned about Ben's durability and immobility at the same time. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is a big dude. He is hard to take down. Yes. So if he's sitting there with 3 or 4 guys, gnawing at his legs, trying to knock him over, what's he going to do but just try to dump it off? He's not going to 100% shoot it 50 yards down the field, and maybe once or twice, but
only to chase
more times. Yeah, exactly. I mean, could he? Sure. He could throw a damn football over them Rockies over there, but he's going to be able to have that little outlet pass with Harris. And I think that's something that is going to be very welcomed by him. I like Harris a lot this year, and I'm not on the hype train yet because I'm trying to stay off of it to keep it low. Like you said, I think with CEH too, everyone was just Andy Reid's the running god of everything that is cheeseburgers in paradise. Let's make him the guy now. And I knew it because I called Joe out on it on the draft show 2 years ago. Yes, I will bring that back up again because
how about I bring up you
pretty much all I
have again? That'll work.
Cling to just keep these doing days. That. So yes, my lone victory over Joe at the time was calling that pick 2 years ago.
Absolutely, it was.
But yeah, I think Harris is going to be a very much welcome, much needed addition for this team.
Yes, absolutely. And you just have to look at how much they still tried to make the running game happen with Connor. They kept trying different things, even with Snell, trying different things to get it to happen. They desperately need the running game to work in order to make our clock management work, in order to open up our receivers, to give them the options. And so it's going to happen, and he's the guy to make it happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts going early first round in a lot of leagues for very running back hungry teams. Probably not in super flex leagues because let's be real. Well, right. We all know quarterbacks are going to go early and often. So in a standard redraft league, I would not be shocked to see him go that early.
Yeah,
I agree.
All
All right,
right, so the
AJ, go
last running back here we have is Anthony McFarland. No, I'm just kidding. Um, do we get a full season out of Joe Mixon for 2021? And if so, does his current ADP of what is it? Ridiculous 12? Okay, yeah.
Not even ridiculous.
Fit your expectations.
Should be
for
lower.
him. I'm pretty sure we already talked about the second follow-up part, but let's just hear it again for the fun of the show.
Way too high for me on Mixon. He's going to fall. He's someone that if you are going to be doing the 0 RB format, you can probably get late and be okay with it. But I would still rather have Gus Edwards for that same exact reason, going 0 RB and just waiting on Mixon. He's going to end up falling. If you see Najee Harris climbing the ADP in your league and he's just jumping up, Mixon's going to be falling. And that's because I don't see him finishing this year a full 16 games, 17 games. I don't see it. It's just Joe's going to be slinging the ball too much and Mixon is going to be falling behind. Like I've never been big on Mixon anyways, and then the couple weeks that I've missed the boat and he had a decent week, I've been okay missing that boat. I'm okay not taking that ride. I just don't have that confidence in him to be the guy this year. He's not going to finish. That sounds so mean. I feel like
I'm
I'm
with you.
Nothing mean about the truth.
You know,
I just don't see him finishing.
fellow Joe here. I feel bad hating on some Joe.
Yeah, and
but
wearing an orange shirt.
Yeah, whatever. What's
You're
wrong with
just
orange?
all over. You're more Clevelandy Browns colors than Cincy. But
Whatever, man. Reese's. I like some chocolate and some peanut butter. Let's do it. No, I got sucked into Joe Mixon that second half of 2018 when he just went off. It was like, oh, okay. Here's the guy that we all thought was coming out of college. This is the real deal. Yeah. That didn't quite come back. That didn't even come close. 2019 was all in on him. And then 2020 was sort of like, oh, okay. 2019 was sort of bad, but you know, he was dealing with some injuries, and that offense in the first half wasn't good, or you know, whatever it was. Like, it was just bad all around for him. So I kind of was like buying the bounce back, and then the injury happened again, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I just
And
need to
that's kind
see it. I just need to see it happen again for real. Like, I hate being one of those people, but you've just got to prove it to me every once in a while. Like, again, you know, I've been wrong before, but you know, we see guys who are injury prone, you know, get injured a couple years in a row, and then they finally have their one, you know, they have their, their uninjured season finally, and then they just make it happen. Like Michael Brantley in baseball is the perfect example. Like, I was off of him forever. He seemed like every year for the first like 5 years of his career, he was injured, and then boom, he's finally like he's fairly healthy for the rest of his career. And he's not like a top 20 player, but he's really good. If Joe Mixon can just be really good, I feel like that's gonna be, better than what he is right now.
Just be better at football.
just be average.
Just stay healthy and be
Just be
really
an average
good.
Joe, and we're good with that.
Just be average.
We will
No,
take that.
I think what also doesn't work in his favor is the fact that obviously the Bengals are still rebuilding on a lot of different fronts. Yes, they have some good receivers and Joe Burrow has a lot of potential, but the defense still has a lot of work to do. I don't think they're going to have the time to let Mixon get fully into the mix. I'll go ahead and do that. I just don't think they're going to have the time to allow him to see what he can do to work in his offense. I think they're going to want to have Burrow throwing a lot to everyone. Maybe Mixon gets a little bit into the passing game, but I just don't see that in his it's not gonna happen.
And
Yeah, I mean, he's been involved in the passing game, but last year, even last year he was pretty involved in like 6 games. He had 26 targets. That's not terrible. So he will be involved. But now that they brought in Chase, you can see it go down because last year they were dealing with AJ Green still. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we're gonna see that decline. Yeah, this is turning into a heavy passing offense.
dealing with the ghost of AJ Green because he didn't play, so he was just a figurehead on the Mount Suckmore of Cincy receivers.
Wow.
But Mixon, the last thing I'll say about Mixon too is going into 19, you're looking at, okay, things happen. Here comes 2020. Let's have this bounce back. He's got a rookie quarterback who's got a lot to prove, but he's going to be that, safety valve for him. And he just wasn't. He wasn't there. And it's a shame because I think he's got some talent. I just think he's in a bad position to really get to display it as much as he potentially could. But other than that, yeah, I'm pretty much off of Mixon at this point too. So he can be somebody else's headache. But let's jump into these dropsy receivers here, starting out with receiver 22, Deontay Johnson. We got T. Higgins at 26, OBJ at 27, Jamar Chase at 28, Chase Claypool at 31, Juju at 32, Tyler Boyd 37, Jarvis Landry at 40, Hollywood Brown at 45, and then we take a big jump down to rookie Rashad Bateman at 63, and none other than Mr. Dependable Sammy Watkins. And by dependable, I mean you can depend on him being injured after a 3-touchdown game
in week 1.
Wide receiver 79. Because he will probably finish with 79 yards.
All right. Let's just jump right into this with the Steelers receivers, and you mentioned it. What a crazy 2020 it was with these receivers. We had a couple weeks where they were all like wide receiver ones. It was like, what in the hell? Like, that's never happened. They were insane.
I'm here for it. I'm okay with it.
All three of these guys are insanely talented.
Loved it.
But as we mentioned, Big Ben's not quite the Big Ben in the past, so they're held back a little bit by him. They're also held back by drops. They had the most drops in the NFL last year by quite a bit. What is your level of trust with these receivers in 2021? Especially given their ADPs, like they're still not like crazy high. They're all wide receiver 2-3 range.
Yeah. Well, for me, I like to look at these stats and then I just go across the board. Okay, well, you're not mad about the fact that each of them has over 100 targets. They all have the opportunity, and that's something that I don't see changing. So hopefully efficiency gets better going into this season. I personally think that Juju is going to have a resurgence. He does really well at the wide receiver 2 slot. Having that wide receiver 1 pressure is not for him, and that's fine. It's not for everyone. He does really well as a secondary, and he tied Claypool last year with touchdowns at 9, and Deontay could have had more if he hadn't dropped the ball, but he only had 7. I just feel like based on dependability and the fact that you've got Najee Harris in there, who's going to be taking a lot of targets as well, taking a lot of those touchdowns, I could see Johnson kind of taking a bit of a dip here, and big red zone target that Claypool is remaining what he is and having those big catches for those amazing touchdowns in the red zone, and Juju being very consistent and having a high number of targets and receptions per game. So I feel like you're going to have a really good floor with each of them.
Yes.
But who I'd rather have each week, I know that I've got Chase Claypool in a dynasty league of mine, and I'm going to hold on to him until someone pries him from my cold dead hands. I'm going to hold on to that guy tight. And if I can grab Juju late in certain drafts that I'm doing, I'm going to do that because I feel like he's going to have a very sustainable floor throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I like the idea that of these 3 receivers there, Juju's the one who's got the lowest ADP. Granted, it's by 1 off of Claypool, but people saw what Claypool did last year. I feel like his hype has already gone up, and he's going to be, I don't want to say overdrafted, but I could see him finishing out higher than 31 for sure. Deontay is kind of the same way. I mean, if he can get over the drops issues, people are still going to just put that aside. That's something he can work on and get better at, and he's still productive. I mean, all these guys are. So I like the take. I think I still would trust Juju the most out of these 3 guys.
The hardest thing with all three of these guys in a redraft league, right, is just like, who's going to be the guy each week? And maybe there could be two each week, but it's still like, if you get to one, like, it's just tough. Like, this is why they've all fallen to wide receiver 2, 3 range. And because I think most people want to put him in like the wide receiver 3 or like even a utility, like a flex spot. Sorry, I'm in baseball mode still a little bit.
Flex in a game on Tuesday.
I like to put him at the DH spot.
Yeah, right.
See what he can do at my utility.
But I think most people want to put him in like a flex spot at this point because they're inconsistent a little bit, right? To the point where they're gonna have these like boom weeks and then they have these like total dud weeks, and so that's what gets me with these guys. And then obviously, Deontay with the drops, it's just brutal. So hopefully he can bounce back from that, and not not have that happen again this year.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the personal hell that you were talking about with the running back game in Cleveland. If you're playing somebody with Deontay and you have Chase, you're like, don't throw the ball to Deontay.
Please.
Even try to throw it to him because he might
week.
drop it. He might drop it. It's cool. Just
and then
throw it to
Claypool
Chase.
might pick it up. You never know.
Well, yeah, exactly. Oh, what's that? It bounced off
something I noticed about
shoe. Okay.
Something I noticed about Claypool here, which was very interesting. He has a very bad contested catch rate. I'm looking at fantasy. So we partner with Fantasy Data. He only caught 5 of 26 contested balls. That's not good. That's not good at all. Now he's a huge deep threat. So I think that's where obviously, but like that's not good. Like so, hopefully they don't go down that well anymore because that's just not good.
Him.
But I mean, he had as many contested balls as Juju did, and Juju caught 3 times as many.
And that's why Juju is an unsung hero who's going to,
I like him as a receiver. He's good.
He's going to have a better year. I was on another podcast, and I hate this game, but, they made me play, F, Marry, Kill with my 3 receivers, and I didn't like it. And I married Juju in this format, and I'm sorry, Deontay, but I killed
because he's reliable.
Yeah. And yeah,
if you're gonna marry somebody, you gotta marry somebody reliable. I get it.
Yeah. And plus, I don't know if you follow Juju on Instagram, but his dog is really cute.
I do not. But
yeah, he has a really cute dog named Bougie.
This is a bonus. There you go. All right, over here to the Ravens, and they got the rookie Bateman. They have Marquise Brown. I mean, come on, this passing offense isn't. We're talking about the Steelers, right, where it's volume heavy.
Yeah.
Going over the Ravens where it is definitely not.
You're just shifting, looking at targets, and you're like, where'd they all go? What happened to this?
Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't matter who leads.
Sammy Watkins getting more involved.
The biggest thing on fantasy Twitter we see is vacated targets. We don't have. It doesn't matter who vacates targets in Baltimore. We don't know if there's targets coming back. Yeah. Shut up, AJ.
If anything, I hope that Mark Andrews has a resurgence and is a target leader this season. I think that they're going to get back to what they're best at, and that's the running game, and that's what we're going to see a lot of. So the ball is going to continue to be spread around through the receivers, but not in a consistent enough way to a single guy that's going to make him beat the receivers we just talked about on the Steelers, and that's not.
No,
I mean, Steelers, it's just volume.
The ADPs aren't showing even close to that. I mean, the ADPs are 45 for Brown, 63 for Bateman. I mean, like at those price points, are you just like throwing a dart at them and going, oh, who knows, maybe.
Yeah, they're dart throws, if anything. Bateman is a dart throw at the end of a draft for me, just to see if, especially best ball. Hey, maybe he's the guy that week. Cool, that's awesome.
Oh, best ball, I'm all in on not
Bateman
all in, but yeah. Like. I'm a lot higher on them in best ball because they will have those 2 touchdown weeks, right? That's going to happen. In redraft, I just can't do it. It's just not a pass heavy offense.
Unless you have a very insane league where it's redraft, but you for some reason have 20 bench spots and you can afford to have one of those be taken up by someone like them. I'm out. I can't.
Yeah.
But even in that spot, you're like, wow, I have so many bench players and only so many starters, and you're never going to plug them in. And
Nope,
if
you're
you
just
do,
moving
it's
them
going to
off the
be
waiver
the
wire.
wrong pick.
It is.
And then the following week, they're going to blow up for that best ball team of yours and be on the bench on the other team. So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Marquise Brown only had 99 targets last year, and they tried to pass the ball more last year. Think about that, people.
They
Nah,
tried, and it didn't
I'm
work
out.
out.
I'm out. And they brought in a better, not maybe a better receiver, but they brought in another receiver better than their second best receiver from last year. So, no, I'm out. Not going to happen.
All right. So, speaking of rookies, let's get back to Cincy here with Jamar Chase. I mean, with him being a rookie, but being besties with Joe Burrow.
Besties. It's all about the bestie game.
Exactly. Who is the rostered receiver that you want to have?
Who would I rather have? I want to have Jamar Chase. I think Tyler Boyd is a smart pick. I don't see him disappearing by any means. Again, this is going to be an offense that they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. So at the end of the season, if you're looking at Tyler Boyd and you're looking at Jamar Chase and their numbers look close, I wouldn't be shocked. I feel like I would like to have either. If I can get either of them in any league, I will do that because volume alone means they're going to have a good floor for me. But in terms of those red zone targets, I feel like Jamar Chase is going to be there to be the show. So I'm excited to see that connection.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely looking forward.
We saw some rookie receivers last year do things that we've never seen rookie receivers do in a long time. I mean,
everyone
especially
but
that
Rager.
Many of them. Who?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everyone but Rager.
Sorry, AJ. Blame Carson Wentz.
Slow
Maybe.
clap for Howie Roseman.
It's I don't hate that pick, man. I really don't. I told you that I still don't hate the pick. I think the offensive scheme last year and coaching was just terrible. So we'll see. We'll give him a second chance this year. We'll talk about that in the NFC East preview, but we'll see. But as far as this goes, I think Jamar Chase could be something special, even with a fairly crowded receiving core there. We saw what Burrow did with I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Higgins last year as a rookie, and again just does very, very good things all around. I think Chase is much better than Higgins in my opinion. So
If anything, I see Higgins having a drop off, and that really sucks for dynasty owners that have Higgins or are hoping for a big high powered year this year and hoping they would go O-line. With that pick, but I think it also is a testament to what the Bengals are trying to do in fully rebuilding. They are allowing Burrow to call the shots, and that's clearly what happened. He clearly picked up the phone and said, "You're getting my guy, right?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"We have so many other needs," and he's just like, "No, we're getting my guy."
yeah,
You didn't hear
we'll
me.
get Did you?
I mean,
misconnection? Like,
at some point though, like, could this turn into almost like Steelers 2.0, where it's like, but sorry to say, Sam, it's maybe a better quarterback at this point in their careers. So, like, it could be better.
How dare you? Because I really like Joe Burrow. I get it. And
because we don't
that's
like the
gonna be-
running back of the Bengals at least, but we like the
No.
running back of the Steelers. So it could be going the opposite way. So maybe all three of these receivers could even do better than maybe what the Steelers could do.
no.
Okay.
Hard pass. No.
Just kidding.
But what I will say is
No.
that just is a testament to how competitive and intense this division is. You are splitting hairs when we're going to look at that. When we look at 2021 season and we look back, it's going to be like, damn, there's a lot of power there.
Mhm.
And when you're comparing other divisions that are a little bit easier to call who's going to obviously finish number one, it kind of levels the playing field. To me, it's like I get excited to have that kind of level of competition. You don't want to just easily win every year. It's gonna. To me, it's more fun to be competitive.
You mean you don't want to be the Patriots for 12 years, just smashing their division? Of course, they won tons of
because
championships.
then you don't appreciate those wins for what they were, and now you're just like, well, I'm just so used to winning. No, you gotta have the hunger, you gotta have the drive to actually fight for these wins, and I think that just speaks to a lot to this division. It is going to be fighting tooth and nail. It's going to be a high volume for the Bengals. I'm excited for their receiving core. They're going to have a really good year.
It's going to be fun to watch. I still think
yeah.
it's going to be a very fun team.
Yeah, I agree. All right, last one we have here, Mr. Super expensive Swatch Watch himself, OBJ. Can he ever return? It wasn't a swatch. I don't know what it was, but
I know you're talking about.
I'm just being my usual comedic self. Can he ever return to his wide receiver one ways?
If he doesn't this year, I don't see him ever returning to it unless he goes to a different team that is in desperate need of a receiver. If there is a team out there that ends up just in a really messed up state in terms of injuries and they are looking for a receiver, I would not be surprised if the Browns shipped him for the right deal, because last year kind of proved they didn't need him and they did better without him. If anything, he's going to be a decoy for a lot of defenses, and that's just going to help Jarvis Landry. It's just going to help the rest of the offense that will do just fine without him. I mean, I don't think the Browns need him to make their weapons work. They still have Austin Hooper, for crying out loud, who's a fantastic tight end, and if given the opportunity and the targets, he can be very successful. So I think that they would get everyone else involved and keep Beckham as a decoy, and then maybe use him as trade bait in the season for a team that's hurting at the receiver position.
But if they are going to go that route, I feel like they still there's two things that I can see happening there. A, they're going to have to use him as a decoy enough to get everybody else that's potentially better than him involved and still find a way to keep him happy. And then
has any team been
keep
able
his
to keep him
value,
happy?
though?
No.
I don't think he
it
can
takes a
keep
lot to
himself
keep him
happy.
happy.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know,
He has to go
you
to a
can-
bad team that is like randomly a decent quarterback is just going to chuck on the ball.
I
Like,
think
that's
that
it.
I would say Detroit, but
No.
I mean,
Don't
now they have Jared Goff, so that's
Yeah.
not going to help.
No, I don't
No.
think that's going to help. But I
No.
think a team
Jared
like
Goff is a
Where's
scheme guy.
Where's the
so
beard
that's not gonna
again? Washington? Yeah, send him to Washington.
how about
I would
how about
love
the
that.
Niners,
Wrong
who
with
have
you?
been years past in injury need for receivers
Yeah.
for different players. I could see a team like that picking up Odell mid-season for the right offer, and I think that he would find success for those couple weeks before someone comes back from injury.
Be interesting. Yeah, the thing I look at with
Yeah.
OBJ is like, I mean, he had this 3 monster first years, and of course, everybody was like, "Oh man, this is like the next greatest receiver ever." Then he had that obviously bad injury, came back, was decent, then moved to Cleveland, and everybody was like, "Oh, okay, he's gonna come back, he's gonna be good." No, not even close. Then last year he got injured, but was really bad last year outside of like one game where he threw for a pass, ran for a pass, and caught a pass for a touchdown. Like, what?
Yeah. What kind of
Outside of that
weird
game, it
thing
was like nothing. So
Yeah.
have to happen to make him be the guy? It sounds like a lot of right things have to fall to make him be the guy for you week to week,
yeah.
let alone a single week.
it's just a weird dynamic with him. I've been off of him for years. It's just, yeah, I've talked about like prove it players, you know, with like Mixon. OBJ is a prove it player for me. Unfortunately, it feels like that way with a lot of people with OBJ, and he falls in drafts so far where I'm like, guys, it's like the 9th round. Fine, click. And I've done it in mocks, and I'm like, I hate myself for it. But it's the 9th round. Like, he's better than that, I think.
Yes, absolutely. No, I get that. And at
Yeah.
that position, I understand. And you're looking at other players, and you're trying to fill all the different needs you have. And so I get it when he falls to you there, and you're like, oh, well, he's not going to
Fine.
be here next round. So
No,
might as
well, he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Who
And
knows?
then he is, and you're like, oh, come on.
I feel like everybody in those mocks, because I mock with tons of fancy six-pack people, and they all know I hate him. So I think it's like a game.
it's
Sometimes
definitely a game.
they're all tweeting each other
Usually.
afterwards. They're like, haha, let's see how long it takes for Joe to take
We
it.
have our own Slack channel.
Of
without
course you
in
guys
it.
do.
It's
Oh
like,
yeah, Kevin
how
and
far can we
Jonathan just
how far can we push
sneaking me
OBJ
left.
down this time?
Like they intentionally reach for people around him, and they're like, "Wait a minute, they must know something
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't about these other players. I can't not take OBJ now."
Damn, why is this hype
Kevin
going up?
Huo and Jonathan Chan are the worst in mocks and drafts around me. They've been with me for like 7 years, so they know everybody I like, everybody I hate. So when I do mocks, they always like to pick right next to me, and I always like try to move out.
Yeah.
They just
sandwich
corner
you.
me, and they snake me left and right, and I hate them for it.
That's
It's a fun
It's a
game.
mock draft.
But come on, and
Make
you
it
know,
personal. You can't not.
Yeah.
I know it's a mock.
Don't mock
but-
with friends. It's like don't move in with your best friend in college. Don't mock with your friends either. That's why
want that on a
there's
t-shirt.
sites like
Oh my gosh.
with 8,000
Let's call up
bots on
RotoWare right now and get
Yeah.
that trademarked. Don't mock with friends. That's a good one. I like it. I'd buy that
friends
t-shirt
don't let
tomorrow.
friends mock with each other.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Finish up here with some tight ends, and it's a short segment here, but relevant tight ends here. Mike Andrews at tight end 5. Then it drops off. Obviously, Hooper 19, Ebron at 23, Njoku 39, and then just because we got to get a Brown in there, it's Brian at 43. Oh no, sorry, Hooper was Brown. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, so. Speaking of that, AJ, first question.
So since we have Bryant and the forgotten Hooper, I mean,
Yeah.
who's the target for your tight end here in Cleveland? I mean, is either of these guys, obviously Hooper's worth something, but Bryant showed some flashes as well. I mean, what are your thoughts?
If this is one of those drafts where you're just drafting until you don't have a waiver wire and you're just filling up bench spots, sure.
Scott Fishbowl.
Scott Fishbowl.
Yeah.
We're all about to do this draft.
Yes.
We
Yes.
all know that these
We're all
tight
about to
ends
get. We're all about to
taken.
die by the sword of Sky Fishbowl.
Absolutely. And so in those leagues alone, are they worth rostering? To me, in a dynasty league, I'd rather take a reach on Pat Freiermuth with the Steelers because at least I know based on his skill set, he's going to get a couple red zone looks, but also be used just in quick bubble screens in different ways to just get the ball out of Ben's hands quickly. And he's a big guy. I think that he could absolutely do that. I'm not high on Eric Ebron by any means this year, but in leagues where it's tight end premium and you're filling up your bench spots, it's fine. But of course, I'd rather have Hooper of any of those Browns tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I mean, Hooper was great in Atlanta when he finally got the chance, got the targets, got the volume, and then they shipped him off, and you kind of expected, okay, well, let's see what he can do here. He had one hell of a hype train driving him to Cleveland, and especially when OBJ went down. I mean, the results were there. I don't know if they were as great as everybody was hoping for. Kind of reminds me of another Atlanta tight end I just don't even want to mention his name right now because it's just
too much.
just depressing. But yeah, I mean, Njoku's never really panned out into anything there.
He hasn't.
Bryant, I do like in Dynasty, but that's kind of it. He has had a couple of flashes, but not enough to really stand
Not enough
out.
to get you excited enough that you're
Yeah.
writing his name down prior to any draft.
Exactly.
Nah, I'm out on all of these of all of these guys. Honestly, I think
I'm hoping for
Hooper's.
better things from Andrews this year, to be honest, just because they obviously couldn't make their other receivers work. So I could see Andrews having a resurgence and getting back to what he was 2019.
Yeah, Andrews is a guy that I think could be good, and obviously, like, he's a huge target, especially in the red zone. He gets those seam routes right down the middle where they think he's gonna, they think Lamar is gonna run, and then, they spread, especially with Brown and Rashad Bateman this year, like, they could spread it wide with those two guys. He's going to go right down the middle, and Andrew's going to get uncovered.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to see a lot of that. So that's going to be great for him. The Cleveland guys, no thanks. Like, it's just too many cooks in the kitchen. What I meant to say was actually there's no Cincy guys on this list right now. But yeah, as far as Freemuth goes, like you mentioned him earlier, are we forgetting about Ebron, or are we rightfully forgetting about Ebron with Freemuth there?
I feel like we're in the right spot with it. We're not forgetting about him. He's there. Scott Fishbowl, you're going to draft him, obviously. But in other leagues, you're not. I think there's a better floor with other tight ends and other schemes. I mean, hell, I'd rather have part of the Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith mix combo there. I just feel like there's gonna be more volume for those guys, because who are they gonna throw to in that offense?
That's true.
I feel like there's far more.
It's very true.
There's more points to be had elsewhere.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Yeah, the New England passing offense is not very good. Even with Cam throwing the ball, like, the tight ends are the show there. Like, that's pretty much all. And we talked about that last week with Howard Bender. So yeah, that was spot on there. So
I mean, does Cam throw the ball, or does he just wait till they get to the 5 and then run it in?
Both?
yeah,
Correct.
I mean, there you go.
That is correct.
Real quick.
Yeah. I mean, Drew Sample, he could be a thing. They don't have enough receivers in Cincy, I feel like. Oh wait. Never mind. Never mind. Yeah.
They've got plenty of other things to do with their receivers than look to make one of their tight ends a thing.
Yeah,
Correct.
they need to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely not a focal point of that offense. But all right, Sam, that is it for the show. But thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Great conversation. And before we let you go, I want to give you a chance to let everybody know what you got going on, and have at it.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, again so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love any opportunity to talk about the AFC North, but it was also great to get to know you guys and get to hang out. And
Likewise.
talk
Absolutely.
fantasy. Love it. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Samantha R. Holt. You can check out my podcast, The Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, and One-on-One with Sam. Go ahead and give that a search on YouTube. And I've got some big news coming next week. All I can do is hype it up. There's big news coming for me next week. I cannot wait to tell everyone, but I can't tell you yet. But next week, I finally get to tell everyone the news that I've been sitting on for 2 months. So I'm excited.
Sweet.
Awesome. Well, early congrats to whatever the news is. And I'm sure it'll be awesome. And thank you again for coming on. Great time. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Have a
Sam.
good night.
You too.
All right, AJ. So just to close out the Hershey trip, I also bought Nimble Giant. We've had this together, by the way. I realized this. We had this together as we do the fantasy football planning shows back in 2017.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's when we did?
Yes. Man, I saw it because I looked it up. I didn't realize I had this. It's been so long. I looked it up on the menu. I was like, oh, I haven't had that before. Click. And then I was like, oh, I have.
Never mind.
A long time ago. So, yeah. Definitely with you at Frisco's, our ex-local. So,
Very good.
It's a good one, man. It's a 4.5 for this is a good one. Really good. So
I
appreciate this one big time.
Say I had that not too long ago.
It's hard to get them down here, they said, but they do kegs and things like that for restaurants. I guess you can get cans every now and then, but this Perpetual Haze, they don't distribute this one at all. So I almost bought
I
bought a $10 16-ounce 4-pack of Perpetual IPA, which would destroy prices around here. I was like,
$10 4-pack?
yes. Yeah.
Why didn't you do that?
The only reason is because I saw this one instead
Well,
and never
Marcus.
had it. Hey, what's up, Marcus?
Um,
Finishing up, drinking some beer. That's what we're doing.
that's
But anyway, that's what I wanted to finish up with. Had a great trip, even though the kids drove me nuts every now and then, but it's a good time.
excellent.
So-
Yeah, Hershey's a good time. It's been a while since I've been up that way.
I haven't been since I was like 6 years old, and I bought this when I was 6 years old, so I had to do it again. Why
and
not?
it still fits.
Yes. Nice. That was good. All right, man. Let's close it out. I will.
I'm a Hershey Park kid.
Oh, I don't know the song. My wife knows the song. It's funny. She was just playing it for
No,
my
I was
kids.
singing the Toys R Us kids
Oh,
song.
apparently there is like an actual Hershey
my-
commercial
again-
that she was.
Oh,
playing
there.
for.
Oh, yeah. There's
Yeah,
totally
I
a
don't know
Hershey-
him.
Hershey
Not
song.
PA
yeah.
kid, but whatever. All right, man. Let's close it
I
out.
don't know what the hell it is.
Anyway, let's close it out. Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen. We'll be
Zombie
back next
dust.
week. See y'all.